like in a program like this, like I see like culture is first. Like how he is, the standards that he has, like it's from 1 through 15.
This episode with Coach Acree is titled Culture, Communication, Consistency, as he displayed how those three things are the reason why Christopher Newport University has been a great program under Coach Kirkering. Coach Acree details how the consistency in communication, accountability, and honesty keeps the culture at CNU intact. Enjoy this episode with Coach Acree titled Culture, Communication, and Consistency.
With Coach Quinn Acree, and you are now a new assistant at Christopher Newport University right now, and they just came off a great season. So let's talk about the opportunity of being an assistant coach at Christopher Newport.
So like obviously they just came off the national championship run, where they won it. So being an opportunity to come to a program like this where it's ran by Coach K, John Krikorian, the being under him really was just an opportunity that I felt like I couldn't pass up. Like not, and it had really nothing to do with basketball. Like, you're gonna win games, you're gonna lose games and stuff like that. But if you look at the track record of assistants that he has groomed or whatever word you want to use for that, that's what really drew me in. Like his last 7 assistants, he was able to develop, get them to learn and improve and grow as people as well as basketball coaches. And their last 6, 5 of them at the D1 level, one of them is a high school head coach at a powerhouse Highland High School, and one of them is a D2 head coach. So like that in itself, which is what led me to like really take this opportunity very serious and want to be a part of a program like this. Because of course the wins are cool, they won a national championship, blah 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 blah. But like to be under a coach that actually cares about developing the coaches under him and move them to bigger places, whether that's Division 1, Division 2, whatever the case may be, just helping them develop more as people as well as a basketball coach. Like that opportunity in itself, like I'm just blessed to be here. I'm feeling that happening now. I feel like I've already grown as a person, as a coach, and things like that. So it's just been a good ride so far.
So what about being under Coach K in this successful program? What is it that you've already learned that, oh, wow, this one makes this coach great and this one makes the program great? Have you seen any differences from your playing experience, your previous coaching experience, that you see the separation between this coach/program?
I think the biggest thing, and this is probably like a cliche answer, is the culture. But like in a program like this, like I see like culture is first. Like how he is, the standards that he has, like it's from 1 through 15. I've been in a program playing where 1 through 8 or whatever, those are people that usually play. Like that's a different status or a different treatment than 9 through 15. Whereas here, I've already seen how he treats 1 through 15. Well, we actually have 21 guys. So
Okay.
1 through 21, we actually have a bigger roster than most teams. So 1 through 21 is there's no divide between that. The best player, the All Americans that we have here, they get coached as hard as number 21, the 9 freshmen that we have. And I think that's something that really not it like it didn't shock me in terms of like, oh, well, I didn't think seeing you did it, but it shocked me because like my playing career, like I saw a divide between those who played, those who didn't. So coming here, I'm like, okay, like he don't care about nothing. Like he don't care if you were all American. He don't care if you were a starter for whatever. Like you have the same standard on and off the court, especially academically. That's the biggest part here. Academics is so huge here. So he has the same standard. Like if you're not doing what you're doing academically, you can't practice. You might be the starter. You might be all American. It don't matter. Like if you're not doing what you have to do to take care of what you have to take care of on and off the court, you're going to get called out for it. You're going to get coached hard about it. You're going to be held accountable to that standard that he has set for all 21 guys. And that in itself is just really good. And that don't go to the players. Like it's 4 of us on staff. He expects us to be on top of it. It don't matter how little it is. It don't matter how big it is. We need to be on top of it at every cost. If there's something that happens that, like, for example, we just had a team camp come up. We had our team camp. We got the schedules, blah, blah, blah. Oh, from our perspective, we thought we had it done, but like he's so great. It's like, all right, but what if X, Y, and Z happen? Do you have a plan for that? Do you have a plan for that? So like that stuff, that accountability, that pushing you to the next level, pushing you to do things that you might not even think about, like that's from the coaching staff all the way to the players. And that has been honestly the biggest difference. Anything. It has nothing to do with basketball, but that has been the biggest difference for me personally.
I mean, it's like the old saying, how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Exactly. So he's big detail, big on details, big on habits. Like he is super huge on that. And that's one thing that I like. I like as a person as well. So seeing that happen between the coaching staff as well as the players, like I just know I'm like this is the program that's gonna make me become a better person, a better coach. So like it's just been good so far.
No, for sure. So actually, you being added to a staff, to a program that's so successful, what do you see yourself adding to such a successful program? What is from your playing experience and your previous coaching experience can you add to such, a national championship team? What is that you can add to it?
I think my biggest thing that I can add to it, me being young, me playing college basketball, one thing that I really add, especially to this team, is that communication factor, that understandability between players and coaching staff. A lot of coaches, even though you're great, good, whatever the coaches think, some players, some coaches don't have that connection with the players per se because they just don't understand where they come from. It's a new generation, it's a new time, times has changed. So how you communicate with players is different. I understand them because I'm still young. I still played a few times ago. This is honestly a very rare situation. About four or five of these guys at Christopher Newport, I have played against
Wow.
my junior year in college basketball. So like I know them from that and they know from playing. So like that, we're able to bond over just stuff like that. So when it's something that needs to be communicated and they don't really get it much from Coach K, I've been able to pull them over to the side real quick, like, hey, this is what he's trying to say. This is what I need you to do, blah, 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 blah. And they can able to, be able to do it, whatever. I mean, however Coach K wants it or however he's trying to teach that single thing. That as well as player development. That's one big thing when I was in the interview is like I love player development. I love getting players better. I love being in the gym. There's a lot of coaches that coach for whatever reasons, but like I love basketball. Like there's never a time that I'm not in the gym. Like even now at seven some, I'm here at this time anyway. If it wasn't for this interview, I
Man,
get here at 8 a.m. I do whatever I have to do during the day. I go work a second job. I come back. Players want to work out. Players want to do stuff like that. I'm here. Like I have, you know, and things like that. So like I just love the sport of basketball. I think that bleeds through when I'm coaching. I think that bleeds through when I do my player development. And that really helps the players really like get better as a basketball coach, but like it's that trust factor, between coaches. Like they see that I'm passionate about this. They see that I actually love this game. So it's easier to coach them. It's easier to tell them things because they know that I would do the same things if I was in their shoes. So like that in itself, I think that's been the biggest thing that I've added so far.
you mentioned player development. I'm glad you touched on that because I actually wanted to get more into that, talk about how when I started doing, you're my first interview, but I have a few others lined up. So when I started doing this, because I'm an aspiring coach myself, I want to get coaches on that have some sort of specialty. So you're the only coach that in the first four that I have lined up that I don't know at all. But the other ones I know. I have my high school coach who's good at building a culture in high school. I have, one of my AU coaches who's also like a college coach who's great with development and defense. Another one who's pretty the older guy, so he has a lot of experience. So when I seen your TikToks and everything, I was like, oh, he's a younger guy, he's a younger coach. He's at his first job out of college right now. So I was like, his journey is something I really want to talk about. But before I get into that, I do want to talk about player development. So what is player development to you? Because you hear that word a lot, but I don't think if you're not in the realm of basketball, for like really in the trenches, you don't know what that is. You just think it's like cones and drills. Like, no, it can be something nuanced as, you know, tucking your elbow in and just working on that or something, a mentality. Just talk about what player development means to you.
Player development means to me is putting a player in the best position for that single person to succeed. I think a lot of coaches that do workouts and stuff like that, which is good. I'm not trying to knock anybody. Like they base workouts for like a broad perspective of stuff. Like when I do player development and I'm working with players, like it's max two people. And those two individuals have a similar games like style of play. So like what I do is, for example, an All American here named John Hines, two-time All American, he averaged whatever he would whatever. Me and him, we're working right now every Wednesday and Friday workouts. But before we even get to Wednesday and Friday, we watch film. We just had a scrimmage the other day. We got it. I got it to him. We're breaking down play by play, all the shots he took, all the shots he did, all the plays he was involved in, and I'm showing them exactly where this stuff needs to be improved. He's an All-American. He's did this. He could be one of those players like, I got this. Like, I already did this. Like, I got my stats. I got my awards with it, blah, blah, blah. But like when you actually sit there and watch it on film and talk to them and help them understand what it is that I'm trying to get them improve, that's what player development is to me. Like it starts on a film session. Like you could put all the cones out there, you put all the drills, but if they don't know where to apply this at in the game, it's never going to translate. So for me, it starts with the film sessions. Then when we get on the court, I start talking to them and like, all right, this was that play. Remember, I showed you the play when you could have did this. This is what I'm trying to get them to visualize. So it is more like I don't care about the cones. Like I don't even use cones in my stuff. I want them to be able to visualize basketball, like play the game of basketball, because the cone's not going to always be there. So I'll go out there, I'll guard, and like I said, I'm young. I play basketball every day. Like I'm in shape, so I'll go out there and guard them to try to give them looks and things like that. But at the end of the day, like it's just whatever makes that person most successful, putting them in the best position for them to be most successful. So some people will work on shooting, but they're not like that's not their assigned job on that team. So like obviously you want to get better at multiple aspects, but be great at whatever your assigned job is for that player. That's what player development is. For example, John Hine is mid post and in. So our whole workout, working on finishes, a couple of mid post stuff, whatever we're trying to get to, and then at the end, I'll let him do a little bit of spot shooting, because for him, he's going to get most of his buckets in that mid post and in.
Sure.
And then as they start playing throughout the motion of the game, they're going to give him a 3-point shot. So I do that last because like now in your mind, you're like, dang, I got all these buckets right here. Now I got to make this 1 or 2 3-point opportunities that they're going to give me. So like it's just about putting that player in the best position for him to succeed, not whatever you think he needs to add to his bag. Like you have to know what he's doing on this team. You got to know his role. You got to know things like that. So I think that's what makes me good in this position, because I'm actually on the staff. Obviously, a lot of trainers aren't on the staff, so they don't really have access to the whole film with that. But like that's what just makes my position unique, or what I'm doing unique, because I got it. I got everything. So I can break it down. I can sit down with them and do that. And then we take it to the court, which is I think it was a reason why Coach K really went towards me for this position, because of that aspect of the player development and that relatability to the players and being able how to communicate with them. It's a domino effect. It all translates into the next thing. So
No, sure. And you mentioned about you just recently playing your playing days. You played in college.
yeah.
Just talk about your transition from being a player into getting into coaching. What was that transition like?
So when I was at Southern Virginia University, it's a D3. It used to be in Christopher Newport's conference. I was playing in 1920, and then 2021 was COVID year. So we played like 8 games, but they didn't count or whatever. And then me and the head coach at that time, he just sat me down and had a serious conversation, because I've always been a player's coach. I've always been a leader. I use my voice. I have a high IQ, blah, 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 blah. But like he saw all that and he saw the attributes that I had. And he asked me, he was like, you could sit here and try to battle it out for position, be starting point guard, whatever you want to do with your aspirations. I knew I wasn't going to the league. I'm not an idiot. I'm
Right.
only like 5'6". Like I was very real with myself, immature with these things. Like I was good enough to play college basketball, cool, but I knew it wasn't going further. Like coaching is what I wanted to do. So he sat me down and he was like, I just really feel like you would be better on our staff. Like I think the players listen to you, they help you. So like making this transition, I think would be easy for you. At first, I was like, what the like? I want to hoop. Like I'm still can play. Like I want to do this. So like I knocked it down at first. It took a week and a half for me to actually like. I'm like, okay, like it's about winning games at the end of the day for me. Like I don't care about none of that other stuff. So like, I made that transition in 21, 22. That year I was a quote unquote student assistant, because that was my last year. I only took like 2 classes that year. I was graduating. Like I was already done. So they were able to give me a little stipend. I was on staff, and then the next year they hired me officially at Southern Virginia. So I had 2 years of coaching experience there. And then this past summer, our head coach went back to Utah. He got the associate head coach women's side of Utah Valley at D1. So then I took the opportunity to go see where my opportunities were at, because me personally, I wasn't going to Utah. I'm from Florida, so like I'm not going over there. It ain't run Rome or Utah, but like I'm just comfortable. I like the southeast. That's where I like to be at.
Sure.
So like I was like, I'm gonna take this opportunity to see where I can go. I end up getting an interview here, and the rest happened from there. So that's basically how I got into coaching. Most people, they graduate, they 4 years, they do a GA at some D1 or whatever. They
Right,
do that 2 years to get their
right,
master's. I didn't do that.
right.
I'm not. I'm one of those personally. I'm not going back to get my master's. That's just how it is for me. Most people, if I'm being completely honest, they do the master's just to get the 2 years of experience.
That's it.
You know, masters just come with it. Like I understand that, but the fact that my situation was so different, I was able to get my 2 years at Southern Virginia University, two
Mhm.
legit years where I was actually had the title, held the title of assistant coach and the responsibility of assistant coach. So like I didn't have to go do a GA because those 2 years was on my resume. So when I came here, I interviewed for it. We talked about, oh, what did you do in these 2 years? You know, all the interview process. And now I'm here, so I'm just using this opportunity to connect with a lot of people, learn obviously under a championship program, a championship coach. Like a lot of people don't even know who Coach K is, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like Coach K is ranked 21 all time, no matter the division, in win
Yeah.
percentage. Like higher than Coach
It's
K
like
from
80
Duke.
something percent, 70
Yeah,
something percent, right?
something like that, something crazy. Like it's higher than Coach K from Duke, and it's higher than Coach Cal from Kentucky. That's all I know. So
Right.
like he wins games, but it's not just about the winning and losing. Like his development tree, he knows everybody. Like at my interview process with him at Coach K, this is what like really like set it over the line. Interview process with Coach K. I didn't have the job. You know, he's talking to me. He's like, you know, I'll get back to you, blah, blah, blah. He got me into, there's this thing that Jay Billis does every summer called a coaching development camp. I
Oh,
wasn't even hired.
yeah.
From that interview, he got me into that. I didn't pay a cent. He was like, show up. I want you to go to this. I want you to experience this stuff. Like he's a genuinely good person. Like if he sees that you have a passion for something now, you actually are willing to work for things, like he goes, like he would bend his back over, like just to help you do whatever it is. And like for that, I was so thankful. Like I said, I wasn't hired. I wasn't hired yet. I just did the interview. A week later, he like meet me in Charlotte, North Carolina, because Jay Billis is having his camp. I'm like, oh hey, like what? I'm around 70 D1 coaches, Jay Billis himself, Paul Bencardi, Pat Kelsey, John Shire, Kara Lawson, like all these players. I would never thought in my life that I would be in the same room as them, let alone talk to them. So like just stuff like that. It's just like you know, this is what he is. Like
I seen that you were part of that, and I actually had in my notes to talk about it. So actually talk about that experience. What was that like? Obviously, you met a lot of, great coaches and famous people that we all know, but just talk about the experience. What did you learn? What was it like?
so that I'm not gonna. That was probably one of the greatest experiences I ever been a part of, because these are people like for me, like I'm a college basketball fanatic. Like I'm watching them on TV. Like
Right.
I'm like, you know, there is like, even though you know they always be like, they're just humans too. There is, but like when you see that ESPN type, like for a basketball player, like you like, oh my god, like that's what you dream to be on. So seeing these people on there and now see them in person, it was a little. I was a little starstruck at first. I ain't gonna say I don't front. I was a little starstruck at first. I was like, wow, like this is Jay Billis. Like I'm at Jay Billis' house right now. But in terms of the actual development, how he set it up, every day we had morning, afternoon, and dinner sessions, and three different coaches every day would come in and talk to us, and just give us some insight on whether that was how to build a culture, X's and O's, stuff off the court, how they deal with NIL now, how they
Yeah.
deal with the new landscape of college basketball. So
Right.
like I had a notebook. I wrote like 20 pages. I got like 20 pages like a day, just writing stuff, just writing whatever I can. And the best part of it was probably only one coach that talked about X's and O's. Most of the stuff was like culture, how to build culture, how to talk to these players, how to actually get your players to buy in. Because 99% of basketball is that. What you do on the basketball court is the last thing people worry about. You have to battle so many obstacles off the court. You got to battle all these different players coming from different backgrounds. Everybody probably the best player in their area. How are you going to coach egos? Blah, 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 blah. Like that whole thing was just talking about that. And it was very eye opening for me because obviously I knew that was a part of it, but seeing every single D1 coach talk about the same thing, I'm like, this has to be it. Like, this is the thing. Like, this is the big thing. The X's and O's, everybody can drop a play. Basketball, copy and paste at the end of the day. We all run the same stuff. They just do different variations of it. But we all run the same stuff. So that's the easy part. But battling people, stuff like that, now the D1's got to battle this NIL crap, all that good stuff. So, like, that stuff there, if you can't do that, if you're not able to handle that, if you don't have a passion to actually help these kids and do what's best for them, you're never going to survive in here. And one coach read, I don't want to get his name wrong, but from College of
Austin.
College of Charleston, like Southern Charleston, something
Okay.
like that. I forgot his name. I apologize if you ever see this, but he talked about one big thing was like, it's not about. He was like, if you're in it for the wrong reasons, if you're coaching because you want to make a lot of money, or because you think it's cool, or because you're just trying to call plays, like you won't be able to survive, especially at the D1 level, because it's so much more than that. You have players that are being recruited that are probably like from bad situations, you know what I'm saying? That are like basketball, they're using basketball to get out of whatever they were in. If you don't have an actual care and passion to help that kid beyond just how many points they score, you won't be able to connect with these kids because they won't do anything for you because they think that you're using them and things like that, or they think that they're only valuable when they scoring buckets
Right.
and stuff like that. So like that message there, like it was so many other messages. I can get into like a whole 2 hour thing about that, but like
Yeah.
it was just great on that part. And then it was also tied with like a Pangos All American type of camp. Like we had kids there. Like we worked the day camp with those kids that got invited to the J Billis camp. So we
Mhm.
did stuff like that with drills and 5v5. We got to draft our own team and stuff like that. And then on the backside during our breakfast, lunch, and dinner is when the coaches came to talk to us. So how the setup was, it was at Davidson College too. It was just
Okay.
it was beautiful to meet all those guys and just talk to them. Mike Morale from UNC Asheville was one of the biggest guys that really stuck to me. Also the head coach from the East Tennessee State. Yeah, he was really good too. So it was just a lot of good coaches came out and talked to
Yeah,
us.
you realize like the X's and O's. I was actually listening to Mike Painter, the Purdue coach. He was on Quanzo Martin
Yes, I
uh,
remember. Yeah,
podcast, and he was talking about. He was just like, "Look, I steal all my plays. Like, it's about building culture. It's about hiring a staff that are great people. Like, it's really the X and O's is the last thing. Like, pass, shoot, and dribble. That's what the game comes down to at the end of the day. Other than that, it's about like your team chemistry, the standards you set, your practices, the people around. That's the thing that actually matters. But no,
actually.
that's great. And I actually want to talk about. So I seen that on your TikTok, right, where this all came about. Last year, or last season, matter of fact, you went to Liberty University. I guess you got the invitation. So
Yeah,
Southern Virginia was able to go to Liberty University, a Division I school. And one thing you realized that you said was how detailed the practice was and how efficient the practice was running. Just talk about how 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 do you get a practice to be so efficient, right? Because you don't have that much time in college, right? I think it's what, 4 hours or so, right? You don't have that much time.
yeah. We go 3 hours for our
3 hours,
practice.
right?
We go 3 hours.
So it has to be a level of detail and efficiency. So let's talk about from that experience and then just your experience as a coach now. Um, what does it take to have such an efficient, detailed practice?
So last year, with Southern Virginia, we was able to go to UVA, Tony Bennett and we actually went to one of their pro days. We went to Liberty, obviously, like you said. We also went to VMI and we went to UNC last year. And then this year we were able to go to Coppin State so far,
Okay.
and things like that, and watch how they do things. One good thing about Coach K is that he's a D1 guy.
Yeah.
Like all his all his coaching, like his coaching like he's a D1 guy full and full. He runs this program exactly how a D1 program runs, and how he gets it so detailed is that I think that's a part of the culture is what he's saying. Is that those 3 hours, our players know we have 3 hours. We have to come in here and get our full undivided attention and get what we need done every day. It don't matter what it is. We have a practice plan. We have times. We have our managers that run the clock. They go to the next thing on time. Everything's on time. So if we got 30 minutes guarding, how we gonna guard, whatever, it's that 30 minutes. We're trying to get the most out of that and do everything like that. One big thing that I think a lot of coaches do is that, let's say we're trying to work on ball screens or something like that, and it's slated for 15 minutes, but the players aren't getting it right. They will go over that 15 minutes to try to get it right as much as possible, which I understand. But when you're trying to get the most out of what you're doing and be most efficient, like that 15 minutes is up, it's up. Like the players ain't even gonna go longer than 15 minutes themselves, focus wise.
Mhm.
So like that 15 minutes is up, it's over. Just go to the next thing and you can revisit tomorrow. Now, tomorrow in that practice plan, maybe instead of 15, we go for 30.
Right.
But our players know that we're going for 30. But if
Mm-hmm.
they know that you're going for 15 and you try to go over, in their mind, they know it's 15 minutes is up because the clock is running. They see 15 minutes is gone.
Right.
So what Coach K does here at CNU is that we have a practice plan. All the times, what we're going to go over, what we're doing. We have the teams on the side. You know who's on white. You know who's on blue. You know who's subbing. You know who's first team. You know who's doing this. Blah blah blah. Like it's so detail oriented. And then when he gets on the court and speak, like his voice just resonates.
Right.
Like he's one of those like he means business. We're trying to get to what we do, and he doesn't waste any time. Like he hates wasting time. He don't want like we're in here. We're trying to get what we're doing. So I'm not sure how to really. I don't know if that
No, that
exactly answers
answers
the
it. No,
question,
that does
but
for
I
sure.
think it's just more about setting that culture of like I know what we're going to do. That practice plan. If you have a practice plan, which all of our players have to study real quick because we do a quote every day with 3 keys on defense, 3 keys on offense. So once we get in the circle after our pre-practice, we pick a player like I need you to read the quote. Do you remember the quote? And do you remember the keys for each offense and defense? So they see the practice plan. So if you're doing something like that and they know the practice plan, like stick to the practice plan because you're going to get the most out of the players because they know I'm only doing this for 10 minutes. I need to go hard for these 10 minutes. But if they go hard for these 10 minutes, even if they messing up or whatever, it's not how you like it, and you try to go for 20 minutes, their attention is gone, their effort is a little less than what it was, and stuff like that. So that's probably the biggest way to be efficient is be very transparent with your players.
Right.
Give them the practice plan. Are we going for 50 minutes? We're going for 50 minutes. That's what you're going for. There's
Right.
nothing over that.
Right. And that's just a level of communication. It might not always be standing in front of the room and saying it, but the emails or the sheets going out all the time, that's a level of communication and consistency. I remember I do high school reporting out here in Texas, and I asked a coach who just recently took over a program, and now they're doing great things, better than they were doing before. And I asked, like, how are you able to turn around so quick? And he was like, consistency, expectations. My team knows what they expect when we go to practice. They know the style of play we want and the level of consistency. We hold everyone accountable. So just that communication and the transparency, like you said, is very, very key when it comes into coaching. I wanna mention that you mentioned something a while back about how you was only 5'6", or you're only 5'6", but coming out of high school, you still have the opportunity to play college basketball, which is a blessing itself, no matter what level, no matter how long, no matter how many minutes you're playing. The fact that you are on a roster at the college level is a blessing. So just talk about what were some traits and abilities that you had as a smaller guard to be able to play college basketball. Because I mean, look, 5'6" is not ideal for any coach. I don't care if Division III, JUCO,
Yeah.
NIAA. That's not ideal. They'll at least 5'10", 5'11" ish at least, but you made it as a 5'6", 5'7" guard. So talk about the traits and abilities you had as a player that carried out for you to be on a college roster.
So I think one of the biggest things that stuck out, like being so little for me, like I had to find different ways to impact the game. Like by no means was I a bucket. By no means was I elite sharpshooter. By no means was I super fast. One thing I did do every day was watch basketball. Like when I say I love basketball, like I love watching basketball. My goal was to get to college basketball, and I think this is a lot of mistakes that a lot of young players do. Not their fault. It's just how the generation is now. Is that I watch college basketball. That's what I watched in high school. All I watch is college basketball. That's all I watch now. I still don't watch the NBA. It's
Right.
just not. I don't like. It's not like that. I don't like the NBA. It's just like that is the best of the best. Like that's a whole different thing of basketball. All
Yeah,
these players are trying to strive to get to a college basketball team, but don't watch college basketball. So
sure.
like it's a different style. It's a different style of play. It's a different game than the NBA. So one thing that I did is I just watched basketball. Like I watched it. I increased my IQ. My IQ, I will admittedly say, is one of the best things that got me on the basketball court because I was able to be one step ahead of whatever it is. I was able to be that extension of the coach as well, which is probably my greatest asset. I knew all the plays from 1 through 5. I knew how to get our players in the right position. I knew if we wanted to run it for this player on this side, where to tell him to go before we run the play, things like that. It was just a steady, calming presence for the team. I didn't score a lot. I maybe averaged 2 points in college. Like I didn't do nothing spectacular. I was just a player that you could just put on the court and I knew nothing was going. And you knew that things were going to be common. That I was just an extension of the coach. I can get the players in their right spot. I played defense a lot. I was very scrappy. Being small, like you got to be a problem on defense. By no means was I locking anybody up because at the end of the day, you could just shoot over me.
Right.
But I could steal the ball. Like I was able to steal the ball, off ball, get through screens, find where the next pass was, read that, jump to steals, stuff like that. Um, but what I would say is for anybody trying to play college basketball, like it is your responsibility to be recruited. It is nobody else's responsibility to recruit. That's one thing I learned early and learned the hard way. It's not your high school coach's job to get you looks. It's not your AAU coach's job. It's not your parents' coach's job. If you want to play college basketball, that is your job to get it. So what I did not start in high school. I didn't start at all. I didn't play a lot of games. I was like one out of two people that got to be able to opportunity to play college. But what I did was I reached out to so many people. Like I sent like I kid you not like 200 emails a day, whether that was the same schools, different school. I did not care. I wanted to play college basketball so bad. I put in the work behind it. I went to visits. I used to just show up to schools and try to knock on the office to see if the coach was there. I'm just like, can I just get an opportunity to do this? I'll walk on. I would do this. I knew I wasn't a scholarship player. Blah 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 blah. But like I put in the work to actually try to get recruited, to get my name out there. Sometimes I use those little third party recruiting things.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it was just emails. I'm calling. I'm just being annoying. If I'm being completely honest, I was just being annoying, and because I wanted to play so bad. And then what got me there, what got me stuck on the college roster was just the rest of the stuff. I was always the first one there, last one to leave, hardest worker. I did what everybody else didn't want to do. There's a difference between being a selfish player and a selfless player. I was both. But what made me selfless is that even if I knew I wasn't going to play, I knew I wasn't the best player. I would get the best player and get him in the gym to get extra work in.
Right.
That didn't impact me at all because him getting better, that's definitely not going to make me play more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But what it did was get the team better. All I
Right.
care about is the win and a loss. I don't care about nothing else. I don't care about average 50. I don't care about average 1. I care about if we won the game or we lost the game. So being the selfless player that I was, like that's what made me stick around college rosters. That's what coaches wanted because there's not too many people like that. Everything, especially in this generation now, everything is just about me, me, me. I want to do this. I want to start. I want to do this. If you ask a player right now, would you rather play 4 minutes a game and win 30 games, or would you rather win 10 games but you're playing 35 minutes a game?
Right.
Most people would pick the second option because it looks good to them. Like that's about me. I
Right.
do not care. I never cared. I did whatever it took for us to win, whether that's helping the best player get shots up, whether that's helping them know the plays, helping them do film, stuff like that. And then when I got on the court, I got my opportunity. I just did me. I never did what I can't do nothing. What I'm
Right.
gonna do for real? I could beat pressure on defense. I'm
Right.
gonna make sure we run the right play. I will spot up and space the court, and then on defense, I'm gonna try to steal the ball every time. I never did nothing outside of whatever I could do as a basketball player. But
Right.
then when it got off the court, I helped. I always talked. Was the loudest person on the bench. Not on. I don't even talk about cheering. I'm talking about calling out their sets, making sure my teammate know that it's a screen coming left. I'm not even on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like just little stuff like that. Coaches seen it. They wanted to keep me around. I'm blessed to be on the college roster. Blessed to do it for 4 years, and then that helped me transition into being where I am now, being a coach. Coach asked me to make that transition early. I did it.
And again, it goes back to what we say: how you do anything, that's how you do everything.
Everything. So
You being annoying, knocking on the doors, emailing coaches, just putting in that effort, that extra effort, just to get on a college roster, and it looks like you're doing the same as being a coach. So, I actually want to talk about because, like, again, I'm a newly head coach myself. I coach a 8th grade AAU team. I realized, yeah, it's something I realized I want to do. And one thing I realized, I heard Jeff Van Gundy say this before on the broadcast. I'm a Celtics fan, and they were talking about Joe Mazzulla, his first year coaching. And Jeff Van Gundy was like, well, it's important because Joe Mazzulla coached Division II, right? That was his only head coaching experience. Have a lengthy assistant coach record at a Division I college or, in the NBA. He was pretty younger guy. He had a short stint. And Jeff Van Gundy was like, it's important to find your voice no matter what level. To be a head coach anywhere, to find your voice. So it doesn't matter Division II, if you're coaching elementary kids, to find your voice as a coach is important, and that's what really propelled me to like just get it going, right?
Right.
So I realized about myself though, I'm like typically I'm pretty reserved. I work with kids at a middle school, like I work with like behavioral kids and stuff like that. So I do more one-to-one work. And one thing I had to adjust my personality is to project in front of a group of people, right? Regardless if it's eighth graders or if it's grown men, women, mix or whatever. Projecting in front of a room, right, in front of multiple people is different than one to one, right? I'm more of a one to one guy, right? Even when I did a
Right.
little coaching in high school and my college career, um, it's more like one to one, like, hey, you'll do this, da da da. I never had to project in front of um, a team or anything like that. So that's something I had to adjust to, right? Projecting in front of a room. Is there anything that your personality had to adjust that comes with coaching?
Uh, Probably the biggest one I would say. I've always had a voice. I've always had like I talk loud, being how it is. I guess it's just because I'm so small or whatever. But I've always had to talk because that's what separated me apart when I was a player. Like I had to be that dude. Like I'm 5'6". I was played point guard. Everybody taller than me. There's a subconscious shorter people you just automatically have less respect for until they earn it. Like that's subconsciously just how it is. Like I'm very real with how life works. That's just subconsciously how it is. So I had to be like, I had to show people that I meant what I say, and things like that. The biggest thing that I had to adjust was, even though I said it or whatever, I didn't always have the confidence to say everything I wanted to say and how I wanted to say. Sometimes I would say something, but I would reserve it a little bit, or like I would say something, but I ain't really say it how I'm thinking like in my head. As I've gone to like my first 2 years, like especially transitioning from player to coach at the same school, some of those players I played with. So
Mm,
like now they like, oh, he's just a player still. Like he no, like it's a different type of voice. It's a different type of confidence that I'm talking with now. Like I mean what I say like times 50 now. You know what I'm saying? So like just being confident in what I'm saying and not being like, I just gotta like I'll say it loud and stutter a little bit. I used to stutter a little bit because I'm like, oh, shit, should I say that right now? Or like, should I? No, now I'm saying what I'm saying.
right.
And, how you take it is how you take it. We can work on that afterwards. But like I've said what I said, I'm doing that. So my confidence is something that I had to work on, especially early. But I think those 2 years at Southern Virginia University really helped me gain that confidence because now when I got here, it's my first time being somewhere new.
Right.
So like I had to be able to come in here early and like speak, say
Yep.
what it is. I got a big role in what I do here. These are new players. These are better players. With all respect to Southern Virginia. But this like they just won a national championship, multiple All Americans on this team. It's very easy for them to be like they can pick out. That's one good thing players do. They know when you're faking.
Oh,
So
yes.
like they know when you're not being who you are and you're trying to do all this extra stuff. So
Mhm.
like that's one thing what SVU prepared me for, just being confident, just talking in front of new people, recruiting, going out to recruit. Actually, like that was something I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to tell. Like
Right.
I don't know how to tell them anything. But now I'm confident in everything, in what I do and how I prepare and how I speak. I can talk to our All American John Hines and Trey Barber the same way I talk to the 9 freshmen, and it
Right.
comes out straight, comes out clean. I'm talking to them. They looking at me like eyes up, chin up, like they hear me. They're taking it to what I'm saying, and then they're applying it. So just working on that. But those 2 years really, like I'm thankful for. As much as I wanted to have a better playing career, I am completely thankful that I stopped early and like that head coach out there, Adam Wardenberg, really helped me push me towards this career path and develop me to get, that confidence more. So
Not for sure. Just got a few more before I let you go. Um, the Division 3 level. I know some people who play Division 3. I'm from Boston, and I moved to
mhm.
Texas, so I have some people that played Division 3 back in Boston, and they did some great things after they graduated in like basketball, like played legitimate overseas against like fringe NBA guys and guys on two ways and stuff like that. Um, what is the most underrated thing about Division 3 hoops?
The most underrated thing is that there is no difference between skill level and all basketball.
Mhm.
Skill right now is on as most even as it's been in a long time. D1, D2, D3, NAIA, UC, SS, it don't matter. Like skill There has not been a difference. Like that is the most underrated thing I feel for D3 basketball. They think that a lot of people on the outside that haven't been here, that haven't been at D1 D3 practice or have seen D3, we have Division 1 players on our team. They can go right now and play Division 1 and be successful at that level. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I feel like that's the most underrated part. The difference between levels is the size of the positions and athleticism. Our 6'5" 4-man that could put it on the floor and do what he do is a point guard, legitimate point guard in D1. Our 6'8" at this level is, oh crap, he's 6'8". Everybody's 6'8" at D1 level and can do what you. That's the difference. That's the only difference. But if you just talk about skill for skill, like I think that's the most underrated part. It's like they don't know how skilled, how good these players are. They're just not big like them. They just
Yeah.
can't. They don't have a 44-inch vertical. Like,
Right.
and I mean that they can work. People can work for that, those physical attributes or whatever. But most of it's just God given. Like that's God given physical traits. Like some people just weren't born with it. Sorry about like so like that's the most underrated part about it. I think if people actually look at college basketball, like there's some D1, the D1, well it was D2, but Augusta
Uh-huh.
D2, they
Uh-huh.
just beat
Yep.
Georgia Southern out there
Mm-hmm.
in their little exhibition game. We actually played a D1 the other day in a scrimmage. We only lost by 6.
Mm-hmm.
D1, like it ain't that much of a difference. Like they had way more athletes. They turned us over a lot because of their athleticism was something that we just don't play a lot of times. So like that's the main difference. I think that's the most underrated part. Like there's good hoops everywhere. Like there's D3. Like Duncan Robinson is obviously the biggest one. He played D3. He's in there. Ryan Terrell. He got a offer. I mean, he's on the Detroit Pistons roster right now. He played at Yeshiva. Um, it's just those are the biggest two right now. But like there's D3 players everywhere. Like you said, man's went overseas and played against fringe D1 players. Like because when it comes to talent, when talent and talent meets each other, that ain't enough. Like at all. Like what sets them over the top is that he probably jump over your head
Right.
with ease. That probably is what set him over the top.
Mhm.
So that's probably the most underrated part for sure.
And I tell people that all the time. The biggest difference in if you separate in each level from like Division 1 to even like from a high Division 1 to a low Division 1 to
Oh, Division
low
One, still
Division
the
One,
same thing.
yeah, Division 2 to Division 3. The biggest difference is essentially the size of the big man for the most part, but it's the size in general. But the size in general is what separates the level. But like a guard, if you get a All American Division 3 guard, he's a like he can pad, dribble, and shoot.
Yeah,
Like you feel me? That's it.
yeah. Our starting point guard that was on this team last year is probably a high D2 level player.
Right.
He just so happened to be 5'9", maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if he goes skill for skill, like he does everything that player does. Like it's the same thing. It's just that
Farley,
he's not gifted
Farley,
vertically.
Farley Dickinson last year made a great run in the NCAA, and their
Great point.
main guys came from Division 2 program that their head coach was at, and their small guards played Division 2 the year before and
Oh, super small.
killing everybody in the national on the
Like
national.
their lineup compared to Purdue was
Yeah.
way bigger than them. We're just talking about skill for skill though. Like they could compete with anybody.
Yeah.
Like that ain't got nothing to do with it. Zach Edey was 7'2". They still beat him. They
Mm-hmm.
tallest man was 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all, it's just that's the most underrated part. But like this generation and like social media has gotten into like it's that D1 or
Yeah.
bust mentality. Like if
Yeah.
it ain't D1, you must suck. That's just how it is. I mean, social media has played a lot into that. A lot of people, a lot of AU programs and coaches and things like that have fed that into the minds of players. Like, I understand. I want you to reach whatever highest goal you have. If that is Division 1, I understand that. But what I just hate about it is like, don't knock what could, don't knock the potential opportunities underneath that. Like, it ain't he went D3 because he wasn't good enough to be D1. Bro, you know how hard it is to get recruited?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like that's like they don't have no understanding. Like coaches, where they're from is where they recruit the main. So if they're from the Midwest, they're going to mainly recruit the Midwest. Like for example, Florida has no D3s. It's
Oh, really?
D2, NAIA, and D1s. So
Okay.
I'm from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best. Like those are the best of schools. D2 is king in Florida for sure.
Gary
Obviously, we got those
University.
D1s. We got University in Miami and stuff like that. But like in terms of like hooping for real, like it's D2 basketball and NAIA. So like
Right.
you got to be they getting the best of the best players. So
Right.
all those that just weren't good enough or like they got a player over there, where we gonna go? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So it took me forever to try to get a what you call it, just because like most head coaches aren't from Florida because there's no D3 in Florida. So who are they gonna recruit down here?
Right.
Don't nobody knows the area, the atmosphere of Division 3 basketball there. So like that's another big thing is that you could be as good as you want. Sometimes you just don't get you just don't get recruited. That's how the game goes. It's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing wrong with that. You don't suck. None of these levels suck. It's just I don't. It's just how the game goes sometimes.
And I always say, if you're good enough, they'll find you. They'll
At
find
some point,
you.
at
Yeah,
some point they will find you.
find you. They will find you at some point.
Like
Um,
it might be a year later than what you want to do. You might have to take a little route to go to JUCO first, prep school, but you can. But those routes help you get to whatever it is. Just don't take what opportunities you got. If you got D2, take the D2. Stop trying to wait for all these D1s coming late. Right? You get recruited by D2 and D3. You're probably a D2, D3 player. Go be successful there.
that's it.
That's just be successful. And if you so happen to have the opportunity to transfer up, take it.
That's it.
Until then, be where you are. Be where your
Right.
feet are.
And this is good coming from like me and you were both like younger guys and things like that. So we're not like old people saying this. Like this is
Yeah.
like no, like we get it. Like we get the social media. We're on the social media. I mean, I just found this guy on TikTok. Like we get it, but you know, be appreciative of your opportunity and take advantage.
Go, bro.
That's that's the biggest thing.
I'm telling like I don't get it. That's probably the biggest thing battling. It's just social media and this generation mindset. That's gonna be the biggest thing going forward. That's why a lot of coaches just got out. Like
Yeah,
all these legends, Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Coach K, like all these legends, they didn't just randomly retire. They have so much left, but it's like it's just a different kid to coach now. Just a different mindset, and obviously with the NIL that plays in part to it. But like they just don't have that understanding. And one thing that I have been doing, I've been going working a lot of camps, and at the end they have these Q&As and stuff like that. Like I'm not afraid to. I don't care who I'm talking to. Like I'm going to speak. Like I've been there. I'm real. I'm straightforward. I'm upfront. I'm not sugarcoat nothing. Like I'm gonna tell you how it is. And like that's been one of my biggest things that I have been so appreciative about. That I'm thankful that I can give back to. Is like you notice. Like I'm gonna tell you my story. I know the story from your spot. Like you
right,
said, I'm not one of these older guys trying to tell you what I've been in the fire. I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through. I know exactly what you can do, what you can't do, how you can do it, blah, 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 blah. So that's
right.
been my biggest, like, since like being so young, like that's been my biggest advantage. Just like just giving back and telling them just how it is. Cause a lot of people are just uneducated, to be honest.
Sure, for sure. Um, before I let you go, well, actually, I want to talk about recruiting real quick. Just talk about your experience recruiting, because I actually work for a scouting service, so I'm in Texas. So a lot of talent in Texas. So
Mm-hmm.
going to these high level AU events, and I'm seeing these nationally ranked players, and I got to do evaluations and write ups. There's certain colleges that purchase our services, and they read our reports and things like that. But just talk about you going on the road and evaluating. Either you see someone's tape online or you go in person. Like just talk about just evaluating and recruiting.
Like what I'm looking for and stuff like that.
Yeah, just talk about just your experience doing it. I mean, you're new to it, so I just want to know, like, when you walk into the gym, like, what are some things you're just looking for? What's intrigues you?
So my first, I'm not even gonna say here a lot. My first time at SVU, the first time where I was a student assistant coach, I still did recruiting or whatever. I got to go on the road to Nova, Northern Virginia. I was scared of shit. Like I've never been in that position. I never knew how to like. As a player, I could walk up to players, but like with that polo on and like sitting there, I'm like, oh, like I need to say the right thing. Like I'm trying not to mess this up. Like
Right,
it was scary, but as time goes by, now it's like I get some advice from a lot of coaches that try to help me out and stuff like that. One big thing that I've learned to do is like you walk in there like you own it. Uh, that's the biggest thing that I have learning. I'm still learning it. Like I've gotten better at it, but I've still got to do it. Like now being at CNU, I go to higher level events, like CBG and EYBL circuit stuff like that. Like I've been to those when I was at CNU. Like I never been to those before, so I just seen this stuff. Like I'm like, oh crap, it's the highest kids. Like I ain't never been, so I was a little nervous. But like going into those, you just gotta walk in there. Like at CBG 2 weeks ago, I was there with 20 other D1 coaches. I walked it there like I own it. I got my shirt. I don't care if I'm D3 or D1. I met everybody, shook my hand, introduced myself, and now I'm evaluating and doing stuff like that. So I think if you're just now starting off recruiting, two things is going to be the biggest thing to help you is, like I said, walk in there like you own it. Just have that confidence, like you know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing. That confidence just attracts people to you, and that confidence makes people just take you serious.
Yeah.
And the second thing is just connecting with high school coaches, get everybody number, write it down. You never know who he know. You don't know like who's on his team. You just don't know. Connect with him and connect with the other coaches around you. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, I want to connect with FAU because I'm trying to work at FAU. No, I'm connecting with him because I want his advice on stuff. That's it. Like that's who I just talked to them. Like when I went to CBG and there was like FAU was there, VMI was there, East Tennessee State was there, UNCG was there. I met all of them. I greeted them, and then I emailed them right after saying, "Thank you for talking to me." Blah 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 blah. It just that creates that connection now, that conversation. Maybe I email them again later on, like, "Hey, you got any advice on like how I can get into this event I'm really trying to recruit here, or like, do you have any advice on how I can become a better?" Just stuff like that. So make connections and doing that. And then the last part I hit on is just what I look for in a player. What I personally look for in a player, a lot of people recruit based off either how they played or how they like their favorite play style. I just want to throw that out there so all you players trying to get recruited. So you
Right.
need to know who it is. So for example, me, I value high IQ and I value people that play hard
Mhm.
because that's what I had to do as a player. So I want to see that in somebody. So when I'm looking at players, I see all these dunks, fast break, blah blah blah. I look at the whole game.
Yep.
Are you in help side? Do you talk? Do you move the ball? Because most of these players might be the best player on their team. Are you trying to force it every single time because you're the best player? Or are you gonna make the simple pass? Or like I said, are you in help side? Can you read the ball screen correctly? Do you see the pass? Can you see the second pass? Granted, I know these kids are high school kids and they need development, but you can see these flashes of that stuff. I'm not saying you need to have a perfect game out here, but
Sure.
like you can see the flashes of it. And I'm like, yeah, we can really work with that. Like I can improve that. They can definitely come here in this program and be valued on that. And then the last thing is obviously I see if they can even I try to picture them in our system.
Yep.
Uh, and that's I'm gonna just throw this out here. Big advice to high school players. If y'all trying to get recruited to a college, let's say for example, if it's Duke or whatever, if that's y'all goal, I feel like you should know what they run on offense and defense. If you have no idea what type of defense they run, you had no idea what type of offense they run, 9 times out of 10, unless you a top recruit, there's no way you're going to go there because you probably don't even fit their play style.
Mm-hmm.
So high school recruits, y'all trying to email all these coaches, make sure you know their play style and make sure you know that your play style fits within the system that they run. But anyway, secondly, so like here at seeing you, defense is number one. Like we play a different style of defense. I won't get into details,
Right.
but basis of it is we really pride ourselves on 1v1. Can you guard the person in front of you? Period. Because that eliminates help and all that good stuff. So when they're playing defense and I see that stuff like that, I want to know if they have like if they're a dog, like do they take pride in? I just want to stop him right there. Obviously, there's different aspects to help defense and all that stuff,
Sure.
but at the basis of it, if you can keep dude in front of you, I'm like, all right, like I don't even care if you score 1 point.
Right.
If you can keep somebody in front of you and keep them from scoring, like hey, that's gonna definitely put you over the top. And it's obviously different from different programs. Some people just value offense. Can you
Right.
shoot the ball very well? So they're gonna look at that more than whatever the other stuff you do. So it's probably the biggest thing with recruiting.
For sure. I mean, you're in Virginia right now. I tell people all the time. Like I said, I'm from Boston. I currently live in Texas now. I tell people all the time, the DMV got the best hoopers, bro. DMV got the best hoopers.
I'm a little biased to Florida. I'm not gonna lie. I've been here for this is my 5th year now in Virginia. So they definitely got hoopers over here. I ain't gonna lie. DMV definitely got hoopers. I'm gonna just always say Florida because I'm a diehard Florida. So anything with hooping athlete, I don't care. I'm just gonna say Florida automatically. But even
Nah,
if DMV is number one, Florida gonna be top three, and I can live with that. So like I'm all cool with all that too. So but DMV definitely got they
for
definitely
sure.
got hoopers.
Before we wrap up, I mean, talked about it before on different many occasions. What you do pre-practice, um, some things you heard about when you went to the development coaches camp. Just leave us off with a quote. It could be a quote that kind of describes your journey, a quote going into the season, a quote to wrap up this conversation. Just end it off with something.
I'm a big journey person. So like Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, a legend, is very big on me. I got it tattooed on my leg or whatever. But the marathon continues is one big thing that I live my life like by. And the quote that I want to say is this is from one of his older songs is before you run your race, you got to find your pace and just make sure you finish. I mean, just make sure you cross the line no matter what time it takes. And what that basically means is everybody has a different race, everybody has a different path, everybody has a different story, different journey. Run your race. Do not spend time comparing yourself to everybody. Don't look at what person A is doing. Don't look at what person B is doing. All you need to do is worry about what you're doing. Everything does not happen overnight. If you continuously put in the work, if you continuously trust the process of what you're doing, everything will take care of itself. It might not happen when you want it to happen, but I believe in God's timing. I believe in divine timing. It's like it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. I never thought I was going to end my career at the time I ended my career, but it led me to where I am now. This was my ultimate journey. Like I had plans for this a long time ago, but you know, life taught me that I'm here earlier than what I expected. But that's the timing of it all. Like I put in the work, and even now, I feel like in my like how much I work, how much I put into this game, how much I put into the team every single day, like my passion that I go with this game. I do feel like I deserve more than where I am, being one of the lower assistants on this staff. But I'm not like, you know, like I'm not envious to it. Like I'm taking everything day by day. Like I'm soaking it all in. Like I'm just trying to learn as much as I can, be where my feet are right now. Everything else would be like it'll take care of itself. Like I don't worry about nothing. Like I don't live so stress free. Like I don't worry anymore at all. Like I just do what I got to do. I wake up every night. Is it the best thing? I wake up every day at 7:45. I get here at 8. Most of the times I get home at 8, 8:30. I have no life. I have nothing outside of this. Is it the best opportunity? No, but like I do it. Like just get up, do it, run your race, forget how it is, just keep going. Like I promise you that everything else will take care of itself. Like the more you work, the more passionate you are about something in life. Like promise that all good things happen. Good things happen.
That's dope. Nipsey always got them bars, bro. I'm telling you.
Nipsey, that's my guy. So I live, yeah.
I love to find your pace. You gotta find your pace. Find your pace.
Gotta find your pace. Just cross the line, no matter what time it takes, man. Just cross the line. That's all that matters. It's all about finishing, man. It's not about how fast you go.
Look, Coach, I appreciate your time. Definitely gonna stay in contact for sure. Keep dropping them TikTok videos. They're dope. And definitely informative too. I don't think a lot of people understand like, you know, what an assistant coach does at any level, day to day. Obviously you can't give us everything, but what you do provide us is definitely informative and definitely entertaining. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time today.
I appreciate you. Thank y'all so much. Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch.
Sure.
I'll send you my number through email and all that good stuff. But I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a good one.
I appreciate you watching that episode of Hoops and Holla, and I hope you enjoyed it and got better as a coach. If you want to continue to grow as a coach, check out our next episodes we have coming up next.
But to me, it's not a coach. You're an educator. I mean, the most important thing for me is, I was talking about getting the best out of people. That's beyond the basketball. Yeah, I want to get the best out of you athletically, but I want to get the best out of who you are, man. And sometimes, and don't have your whole identity wrapped up into putting the ball in the basket.